Hello, and welcome to Recapping with Delora
and Ashley.
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Recapping Podcast.
Also, rate, review, and subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all the things.
We want to hear your thoughts on the movies and shows we review.
Leave us a comment on Apple Podcasts or our YouTube channel, and we will read them during the show.
Or reach out to us on social media. We love talking all things entertainment and pop culture with you.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you.
All right, Delora, another week. How you feeling? How you living?
Doing all right. How about yourself?
I am good. I don't think I've mentioned, I am doing yoga teacher training. I got into yoga probably about 2 years ago and have really seen such a difference mental health wise, physical health wise. So I decided to take the plunge and do yoga teacher training. And it's a little physically intense. I'm a little bit tired, but otherwise it's going to be great. I have homework to do, which I haven't had homework in a long time.
Do you have paperwork with that when it comes to like names?
Books to read, all sorts of things. Have a manual I have to get through, all sorts of things. But for my yoga enthusiasts out there, it'll be well worth it for sure. But I just wanted to start the podcast off on a bit of a lighter note because we do have a couple of harder topics to talk about to kind of start us off.
And before you go into that, I should definitely connect you to one of my friends, actually, who has a yoga studio here in Cincinnati, Tyann. So I'll make that connection probably on social media. She's really cool people, and she's been doing it for a while. She actually used to work at my company, and now she's independent. So
awesome.
I think it's really cool.
Thank you for the connection. All right. So we do want to start off with a couple RIPs. First one is Frankie Beverly. Actually, the day that we're recording, the news just dropped that the iconic soul singer has passed away at the age of 77. He was the founder of the funk band Maze. His family announced his passing on Facebook. They are keeping the cause of death private and asking for space as they grieve. This is according to a TMZ article. The family statement said he lived his life with pure soul, as one would say. And for us, no one did it better. He lived for his music, family, and friends. Love one another as he will want that for us all. This article kind of goes into a little bit of his history as finding success back in the 60s with doo-wop group The Blenders, then later forming the soul group The Butlers, and then his big break coming in the 1970s with Maze. They actually, after 50 years of performing, just had their farewell tour and final show that took place back in July. So rest in peace. Were you familiar with Frankie Beverly's music? I'm asking, but I know the answer. So
I'm like, was I not raised in a Black household in the 90s to parents who grew up in the 70s and 80s? I absolutely am familiar with their music. Actually, my parents went to one of their concerts in the last few years, like Joy and Pain. Like, it's barbecue music as far as I'm concerned. Family cookout.
Yes, Black woman. It is definitely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And more notable, of course, Beyonce re-recorded his famous song Before I Let Go. I'm looking at NPR. They call it the unofficial Black national anthem. And this is the song you do the electric slide to for those who are not familiar with the culture. And I don't mind her version, but his version is paramount as far as I'm concerned as well. So he will definitely be missed.
Absolutely. For those of you who have a new dance to Beyonce's version of the song, I have not gotten that down. We've talked about this. So I'm going to keep on electric sliding my ass.
And then
through these classics.
In the book world, Kennedy Ryan, who's one of my favorite authors, one of her famous books, Before I Let Go, is a book. It's going to be a show. I'm sure we'll talk about it, but it's his legacy has permeated our culture. He is canon, so I am so sad to hear this news, and definitely keeping his family and friends and bandmates in my prayers.
Absolutely. All right, another legend. This one in the cinema world. James Earl Jones. I'm looking at a USA Today article. The acclaimed Field of Dreams actor and voice of Darth Vader has passed away at the age of 93. His representative confirmed the news rather, but a cause of death was not disclosed. He passed surrounded by his loved ones, and he was a great man, was the statement from his rep. James Earl Jones was an acclaimed actor. He won an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony, the coveted EGOT, throughout his career. Notably, again, playing Darth Vader, starring in a classic Field of Dreams, starring as the voice of Mufasa in The Lion King. One of my favorites, and this tells my age, is a childhood favorite, The Sandlot. Like, I will always remember James Earl Jones as the neighbor with the dog that they just thought was so terrifying. When they finally go into this man's house, he is so lovely, and he gives them a baseball signed by the Babe Ruth. Like, it was just an iconic from my youth film, and he played a pivotal role in it. So outside of these other things that are staples of pop culture, staples of our childhood, he was a beloved cinematic figure. So, Delora, what were your thoughts on the passing of an icon?
I have to say, like, we hadn't heard much from James Earl Jones in a while, and it makes sense. He's in his 90s. But one of the things, and I think we talked about it when we recapped it, but when they did the Coming to America, the second one, to see him in that film was like mind blowing to me. I'm like, he's still out here. You know what I mean? And I love that so much. He will forever be Mufasa, right? Mufasa, Mufasa, Mufasa. Everywhere the light touches, you know what I mean? And for those who
just to throw in something real quick while you're talking about that, sorry to cut you off at all. This revisionist history I'm hearing about that's going to happen within his relationship with Scar, I'm not here for it. Mufasa forever.
I mean, I think they're so busy in Hollywood creating these morally gray characters or giving the villains a backstory that it's like, y'all have lost the plot. There are some things that are just simply good and evil. And Scar is just one of them. He is
someone
evil.
Who kills their brother
and blame it on his nephew just for power. I will be watching it though, because I am interested in what Barry Jenkins,
I'm gonna watch it too, but y'all not gonna get me with this. Just so y'all know, y'all not gonna get me. I'm sorry, please continue.
And then of course, Field of Dreams and Star Wars, the voice of Darth Vader is iconic. You know what was so funny? I didn't watch Star Wars until an adult. It was a friend who had the whole series on DVD that allowed me to loan it and watch it. But up until that point, all I knew were two things. What is his name? Luke, I am your father. Like, that's all I knew. And Luke, I knew that voice,
It is true. Yeah. I've still only seen the first of the original trilogy. Yeah. They killed me with Luke and Leia liking each other.
And being siblings.
They are twins.
I mean, some people are attracted to themselves, right? And I don't know.
But that's very Game of Thrones. Like, I don't need that in my Star Wars.
That's probably where I was getting it from. I'm like, what am I saying?
Yeah. And what was even worse with that is in the books, remember they were described as like being mirrors? And it's like,
yeah. But speaking of revisionist history, or I don't know if it's necessarily revisionist, but Twitter is coming out with old video of James Earl Jones talking about his relationship with white women and his thoughts on black women. And I'm like,
I forgot about that.
I am thankful that I've never heard of this until now. But at the same time, the fact that these videos exist also, confirms the fact that we are all human and all fall short.
This is also why a lot of times I don't want to know actors beyond their roles, because Let me love the character. I don't need to love the man or woman.
Ah,
You know what I
talking about,
mean?
he essentially said black women were masculine and couldn't handle. I don't wanna. Uh, so the clip that I saw was essentially him saying, black women has this level of aggression and masculinity, and I don't know, whatever. I like white women. I think that was proven with he was married to two of them in his lifetime. And I don't know if he has any children. Does he have children? I'm sorry.
I did not catch the mention that he has any
I didn't
children
see that
in
either.
the articles I've seen, but
I
this is always my big to do. Like who you like, love who you love, just don't shit on me in the process.
That is what I am saying. That period, point blank. Okay. But he is a giant. And he recently, I think the last time we talked about him also is he has a theater named after him on Broadway. And well deserved, sir.
Indeed. Well, rest in peace, James Earl Jones. Let's move into the Creative Arts Emmys. We have still the Primetime Emmys coming up, but the Creative Arts Emmys always precede them, and they just happened. And we had some big time wins that I was super excited for, such as the Angela Bassett getting an award. Angela Bassett won her first for her narration of the National Geographic wildlife documentary series Queens. Maya Rudolph also won for her voiceover work on the animated Big Mouth. Shogun made history, being the first television series to ever win as many awards, which they won 14 for a single season. Jamie Lee Curtis
Yep.
was a shoe-in for me in her
Bear.
Emmys, because I saw and I watched The Bear, and this particular episode that she won for is one of the most talked about episodes of television. I think that it happened at that time. So many people talked about so many feelings they had, how this related to their own family dynamics, and Jamie Lee Curtis absolutely shut it down. So I had no doubt that she was going to be taking home some hardware this award season.
You think she was coming off her Oscar glow?
It's that, but it's also, baby, these roles she's getting now, give her meat. Okay. Everything, everywhere, all at once. I said when we recapped it, she had meat to play with as that character. In this role for the bear, she was unhinged. Okay. Unhinged. So, yes, I think they gave her material to play with, and I love that for her. And then my final was Michaela Cole. I had said I wanted Michaela to win for Best Guest Actress in a Comedy Series for her performance in Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It was so good and so unexpected when I started that series.
I love that. Yeah, I didn't know she was going to be in it until you brought her up, and I was like, oh, I love this.
Any awards or, categories for the Creative Arts Emmys that you saw and you wanted to talk about?
You hit on all of them. The only other one I would like to highlight is John Barthano in The Bear. We recently talked about him and his role in Origin, and he was in The Walking Dead. He's such a versatile actor that I'm excited that he's getting some acknowledgement for his work. Because I hated him
won
in
for The Bear.
Yeah, he did.
Same episode.
And I hated him in Walking Dead, and he has been able to be like the good guy and the bad guy and the husband, and and now in this role, I'm just really impressed with his range, and so just wanted to shout him out.
Nice. All right, let's move on to our next quick headline of Beyonce covering GQ. Here's my thing with Beyonce interviews at this point in her life and in our lives and in her career. I'm bored every time now.
It is so evasive, even when she's quote unquote giving us answers, giving us explanations. It is so restrictive. Like I'm trying to find the right word for it. It's not even a peek behind the scenes because it's still very much there's a veneer there, you know?
Yeah. Love Beyonce. We on this podcast, if this is your first time ever listening to the show, let me start over. We adore Beyonce. But I think that at Beyonce's level, stature, longevity, she doesn't need to do interviews. And then when she does, to your point, it feels very sterile. Like it feels like somebody doing a job interview, giving the least amount of information possible most of the time just to get through it. You know, it's like, even I think the first question when she was talking about her morning routine, I was like, who talks like this is what I was thinking. And I think one of the things that makes it a little bit worse now is that we are in an era of such transparency with our public figures that
Yeah.
Beyonce is still of a bygone era of superstardom where you could be more mysterious. It just
And you
doesn't
only hear
sell.
from them in interviews with a
Yeah.
particular publication.
It just
Yeah.
doesn't sell the way it used to. I mean, think about the
It's so
contrast
funny.
between her interviews and Rihanna's interviews.
Right.
It's stark.
But Rihanna is a superstar, but she has this level of she's so personable. Like
Yes.
when you talked when she was doing her back-to-back Fenty releases and everything, every time she's on the red carpet, which is obviously closed, right? It's like whoever she invite and mainly her going down the line. She's a lot of fun. She doesn't seem as rehearsed, right? Like I know she has her talking points, but there's a level of authenticity that's there. Now, one can say she's humble because she doesn't have the vocal range of a of the likes of a Beyonce.
Well,
And
damn.
I'm not trying to be shady. I'm just saying like there's different things that humble us, right? In life.
Sure, she's still Uber. First of all, the one of the biggest things for me with Rihanna is Rihanna at the start of her career, her vocal range was better. I
It
just feel
was.
like the music she makes now is not for that. And she's
No.
focused on so many other things. Cause and I'm not saying you, but so many people be like, Rihanna can't sing. That's actually not true.
Oh no, yeah, she definitely can sing. And what I love about Rihanna is that she stays in her lane, though. Like in terms of she gives us hit after hit after hit. We were spoiled for a whole decade because she was.
Album a year
I mean,
dropped.
track after track after track. I mean, her roster is like insane in terms of the number ones on the Billboard charts and YouTube views and everything like that. And honestly, it was until, in my personal opinion, Anti, where she was actually trying to give us the vocals with "What You Want From Me." What song is that? I don't know. But anyway, she was working with SZA and it was more moody. Back to Beyonce in this interview. I mean, there were certain aspects that were, enlightening in to an extent, right? Where,
What,
oh,
like
she
we ain't
does
gonna ever
get
get any visuals?
she did get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. My opinion when it comes to the visuals, the reason why she's like, oh, you're the visual honey. Beyonce is at the point of her career where she is trying to diversify her portfolio. And this is why we are getting Sacred and Sir Davis. And that's why this article is highlighting it along with her album, because the music industry, the way things are set up, they're not, making music isn't the most lucrative thing that musicians can do. It's selling product. And up until this point, she has not had a very successful, long-term products that were known for quality and known for having that lasting power, because Ivy Park came and went, you know what I mean? So did House of Darion, and I'm pretty sure there's other things in between that I'm not thinking of. Now she's actually shooting for what we expect for someone at her level when it comes to quality of products with her hair care that aligns with her story better. I mean, that's the one thing Rihanna did do well, and that's why she's not looking at music anytime soon. It's because she gave us makeup, and her makeup was revolutionary for the makeup industry when it came to diversity of shades. She gave us lingerie, which is in line with her music, such as, you know, KKKK. You know what I mean? So what Beyonce is doing in this elaborate promotion for all of her products she's currently selling is letting us know she has these history behind these products that are now award winning, and I think she's hoping that these have some long lasting effects. That's the only reason why she's talking to us. Like when she for her birthday released that video on Sir David, I was like, girl, I'm tired. I what do you want from us? I guess it's either buy my products or buy tickets to my expensive ass tour. And everybody this year said, Beyonce, please don't go on tour. Thankfully, she did not, right?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna make it. I think I'm done with all of that. Usher, it's possibly one of my last expensive tours that he is. I'll still go to a festival, whatever. But to your point about products, yeah, because I mean, also longevity, like you can't perform at that level forever.
Right.
We already saw on the last tour with her foot surgery and all that. She couldn't even dance like she's been able to. And that's one of the biggest things in her arsenal as an entertainer. So for sure, need to diversify the portfolio. She's talked about that previously. But I didn't bring up Rihanna to pit them against each other. I think what I'm saying is
Oh no,
as
it's
an
a great
entertainer,
comparison. Yeah.
yeah, but as an entertainer, I think you realize over time what certain people's strong suits are, and I just think that Beyonce is at such a level that if she needs to protect her peace by giving as little information as possible, I understand that, do that. But I just don't think I really need interviews anymore because there is social media, there is that level of self promotion. Maybe she's an introvert and Rihanna is an extrovert, and that's the difference in their personalities, and that's what makes such a
Yeah.
big difference, and that's
Yeah.
cool. I said all this to say I just don't think I need any more Beyonce interviews because I am frankly bored every time I read them. And I'm like, Beyonce, I
Honestly,
love you, but I don't need to hear from you in this way.
when I looked at the article, all I was thinking was, oh, pretty gowns. Pretty.
Yeah. I mean, even
Like,
when you think about her social media, it's always visuals of her outfits, what she's wearing for that day, vacations, whatever. Stick with that. That's fine. Like, if that's your aesthetic, that's totally fine. You look great. You live a lavish, beautiful lifestyle. Let us all enjoy. It works. Now, I do have to say, I'm probably going to try her whiskey. This is probably one of the first Beyonce products I'm really going to try because I like whiskey. Not because it's Beyonce, but just because I'll be curious. If somebody in my friend circle is going to have
I
some, and
was
I'm going to
gonna
try it.
say, I am not gonna be the first one to buy the bottle. I will try it. Will I buy it eventually? I might consider it. I will say the bottle is pretty.
Yeah, but I
um,
don't buy alcohol to be collector's items like some people.
no, me either. But I that was a observation when I saw the bottle. But what also had me cracking up though is there's a lot of pictures of her with whiskey and her cigar. And somebody on Twitter was like, oh, that's why she's a tenor now.
Mhm.
Well,
Wasn't
you
there an
know,
era
her
where she didn't drink? Or am I tripping?
probably. There was also a time in her last interview, I think she talked about the joys of weed now or marijuana. So, you know, she's 43 years old. Life has been lived, okay?
Yes.
Things that you probably never thought in a million years you would do, you're doing. I think the most fun part of her interview is the question that says, what is currently inspiring you in music and film? What's the best thing you've heard in 2024? So when she listed off the girlies for singer songwriters and rappers, I was here for it. Ray, that's my girl. She's been a hidden gem. I talked about her. Victoria Monet, Sasha Kibble. She has a really great song that I heard from the Yams playlist, which is a hidden gem of mine. She's a spicy Brit doing things. Of course, she shouted out Chloe Halle, well deserved, and then Renee Rapp, also another hidden gem of mine, but she's not hidden, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Love Doechii, talked about Doechii all the time. Gorilla, and her shouting out Sabrina Carpenter had me cracking up because it's the please, please, please for me. Again, another funny thing I saw on Twitter. They were like, she loves please, please, please because she's pretty much begging Jay-Z not to F up. Because that's what the song is. Like, please don't prove I'm wrong. Like, or prove I'm right. I think that's what she says. And then I have to see Inside Out too, apparently.
I just watched it.
How was it?
It was good. I mean, I need to watch it again. Because apparently I wasn't invested enough in one of the scenes that apparently people get very emotional in. And I was like, maybe I'm just not feeling it today. But I'm gonna watch it again. I mean, I think the big thing that a lot of people take away from it, right, is that, as we age and we grow, our internal life becomes more expansive and that's very relatable because we all go through ish. So it was good. But
Mm-hmm.
we spent a lot of time on Beyonce. So anything else about this GQ spread?
No, I just wanted to bring out the pop culture side of things, what her taste is of things that are going on in today. I
She
thought
can
that
go ahead
was
and
a
start releasing a list like Barack. I mean, it's fine.
books and music.
That's fine. All right, let's move on to our final. And I keep saying quick, but we stopped calling it quick. Our final headline is Dawn Richards has come out and filed a lawsuit against Diddy. She is suing him for allegedly groping, assaulting, imprisoning her, and threatening her life when she tried to intervene in defense of his former girlfriend, Cassie. For those who are not familiar with Dawn, she was handpicked by Diddy back in the day to be a member of the pop group Danity Kane. It was a part of the whole Making the Band series that used to air on
Damage. So
MTV.
damaged.
And she was, I mean, in the Bad Boy universe for a while because I think there ended up being like a spinoff
Dirty
group
Money.
as well. And
Yep.
so
And that album, Last Train to Paris, was one of my faves back in the day.
she is requesting a jury trial. Her attorney is Lisa Bloom, who said in a statement, "We will not rest until we achieve full and complete justice for Dawn in this case." In a statement from Diddy's lawyer, um, basically said he's shocked and disappointed by her lawsuit. It is an attempt to rewrite history. Da 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 ba 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 ba. I think at this point, for me, I could care less what Diddy says. Anybody who has a grievance clearly is on the right side of the truth. So I think the most surprising thing about this for me was that she has waited. I would have expected for her to have likely filed in the midst of Cassie and all of that kind of going on. Maybe that was kind of whiplash for her though, and it took her a minute to kind of absorb the fact that the dominoes were finally falling. Because I guess one of the things that he would often say was, how he could make or break your career. He could make you go missing. He would threaten you. He'd do all these sorts of things. And so maybe she just needed to process and digest the fact that, there was no coming back this time because it does not appear that there will be. This is on top of a guy who has filed $100 million lawsuit, I think, against Diddy for like sexual assault. And right now it's no contest. So, they're saying he won, but I guess there's still time for there to be, more legality with that. But I just think it's another example of a lot of the skeletons are continuing to fall out of the Sean Diddy Combs closet. And Dawn was someone that I loved as a member of Danity Kane and an entertainer back in the day. So this was one that, stood out to me in terms of everything else that was going on. What were your thoughts?
Dawn is still doing the doggone thing. A lot of people, when Beyonce came out with Renaissance, they were like, if you want this genre, Dawn has a whole, I think she has a couple of albums that are house music. So Dawn is super, super, super talented. And she also was one of my faves from Danity Kane. I just always loved her alto. I loved her tone, and she was just super talented. Like I said, she still is. You know, Sean, Diddy Combs, Love, Puff Daddy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He has always come off as the type of person that led using intimidation and fear. And this was seen through levels of abuse on the hit show, Making the Band, along with all his court cases, even before the groundbreaking one that Cassie filed last year. And so the idea that someone like a Don, who, as you mentioned, was part of Danny Kane along with Dirty Money, she's been around him for a long time. She probably have seen some things. And at this rate, if if she is making these allegations, I'm saddened that she experienced those horrors, and I hope that she gets justice.
Absolutely. All right, let's move into our two hot topics of the day. The first one, Kendrick Lamar has been announced as the headliner of the Super Bowl. You are, I think, the bigger Kendrick Lamar fan between the two of us. We obviously saw him as a part of the ensemble when Dr. Dre had his headlining performance, but Kendrick is standing on his own, coming on the heels of a spectacularly successful period of time, given his feud and beef with Drake that he, in most people's eyes, flat out destroyed, Drake, and potentially
They not like us.
ended his career. What were your thoughts when this was announced? I think my question was, did this come earlier than the announcement last year? I can't remember, but regardless, what are your thoughts? And do you have like a dream set list? Because I have an article up right now from Billboard with their dream set list for the show.
So there's been a lot of conversation about this. Yes, I do feel like this is kind of early because I'm just like, I feel like we always hear who's going to play the Super Bowl closer to around the holiday season. So Thanksgiving, New Year's time frame. Shout out to Kylie, friend of the pod. Very like day one. Okay. She texts me when this news came out and was like, what are your thoughts? And I'm like, I feel like he was just there. Obviously he was, because like he was part of the LA set, but They Not Like Us is such a huge song. He's having a moment now. I think I think he'll do well. He is a known performer. I think what actually sold it was his performance during Juneteenth that came on Prime. And the way he was unifying the Crips and the Bloods and performing, it was such a vibe that I think he will do an amazing job at the Super Bowl. Now, in terms of songs that I'd like for him to sing, we're going to be all right. Now, whether or not he's going to perform Not Like Us is remains to be seen, because the song is essentially alluding to Drake and crimes. And it's not quite family friendly. But
I don't
I
think
want to
he
hear
can
Humble.
not do that song.
Girl, though,
I would be
like
shocked. He can
he's
do an
gonna have
abbreviated
he's
version.
gonna be like boop, boop, boop,
That's
boop,
fine.
like every
Like
other.
there's just like he can do an abbreviated version, but there's just no way. Like I can't envision a world where he does not do some variation of the song for sure.
I mean, it has to happen. Oh, B Don't Kill My Vibe. That will be fun.
Well, Billboard's list, they have ADHD, they have Money Trees, they have
Yes.
Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, they have Swimming Pools, they
Yes.
have King Kunta, they have All Right, they have DNA.
That's the song. DNA. Okay. I love that song so much. Okay, go ahead.
Humble.
Yep.
N95, Element, Rich Spirit, Family Ties, and Not Like Us. That is their dream set list.
Interesting. And there's a big hoopla. Super Bowl is going to be in New Orleans this year. Everybody was like, the king of New Orleans, Lil Wayne.
That was going to be my next question. I'm not a Lil Wayne fan, so I have no skin in the game on that.
I was a huge Lil Wayne fan when I was in college, but he has since fallen off greatly for me with his antics.
Could he even have the stamina to last through a halftime show?
But people think this is a dig because of the beef with Kendrick and Drake is under Young Money, led by Lil Wayne. And I'm like, y'all are, I can see to an extent, but somebody was like, Young Money don't have the stamina or stage presence to do a Super Bowl. Nikki, you and I saw Nikki on stage at the Essence Fest and we left early. Okay. I guess the assumption was that it was going to be a Young Money Super Bowl, but there's no guarantees that the artist of that city is going to play the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I also think that people forget this is entertainment, and relevance is one of the biggest criteria when it comes
Yes.
to entertainment, right? And so
Yes.
who has had a bigger year between Lil Wayne and Kendrick? Like, it's easily Kendrick. That's why it was Usher's moment last year, because
Yes.
Usher was on a high. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Las Vegas
relevance
residency.
matters.
Yes.
And Apple and Jay-Z and them, they ain't stupid. They're capitalizing off the success of these folks.
And apparently they had a short list and they had the city of where the Super Bowl was going to be held make the final decision. So, Nicki Minaj was calling Jay-Z all types of house Negroes and everything, being loud and wrong.
I used to really mess with Nicki Minaj. Not anymore.
She hasn't.
Not
Yeah,
anymore.
it's not been a good look.
No. All right. Well, exciting times. Super Bowl is one of the few major sporting events that I still pause and watch when, the Super Bowl halftime show is coming up and all those things. So I'm excited to see what he brings, and, if his taste from the Dr. Dre Super Bowl halftime show with the Golden Lords and everything was even
Shout out to Robert Townsend.
was even just a sampling, like, I think we're going to be completely blown away. So, all right, let's move on to our final hot topic. This presidential debate that took place last night, as of the time that we're recording. VP Kamala Harris and former President Trump got together, I guess we can say, on stage to finally have a much anticipated debate. And I personally had no desire to actually watch it. I just wanted to catch the highlights because, to be honest, I can't stand to hear Trump speak. Like, I can't do it. So give me native lands recap. Give me glimpses of the top things that, were said. Like, give me those things, but ain't no way I could sit and listen to that man speak. So did you watch it, and what were your reactions if you caught it live?
Did I watch it? I absolutely watched it and I was cackling my head off. Okay, so I understand the reservation of not wanting to listen to Trump for 2 hours talk and lie through his teeth, and in the past without any pushback at all, right? But I knew this was a pivotal moment for Vice President Kamala Harris. And so I was seated. And I did miss the first, probably, I missed the first question. I had to go back and look it up because bedtime routine. I enjoyed multiple things in terms of the following. So I was very appreciative of the moderators fact checking in real time. I
Lindsay
appreciate it.
Davis and David Muir, right?
Mural. Yes. Shout out to them. And shout out to Vice President Kamala Harris for doing the following. One, walking up to him and saying, essentially, say it to my face, my name is Kamala Harris. Like, nice to meet you. Because if it was up to him, he would not have acknowledged her, because he has failed to acknowledge her throughout that entire debate. He didn't look at her. Not one time he didn't say her name. Not one time he didn't even reference her as vice president or, her name. It was just her, and Joe Biden, which was disrespectful. And everybody who are for Trump, they're like, oh, it was the moderators against Trump. Trump only engaged in the only other white man in that room, and that was David Mural. That's why we got those exchanges. He did not acknowledge the other two women in that room, who so happened to have been Black, by the way. Point A, because I forget what number I'm on. The way that she masterfully set up all the traps for him to fall into was a wonder to see. And the reason why I say that is, it fun that we have a presidential candidate that screams in front of the world that immigrants are eating our domesticated cats and dogs? Is that funny? No, it's not. It's actually quite sad, but I think we laugh because it keeps us from crying. And the way she set that up, talking about his rallies,
Yes.
yo, I knew exactly what she was gonna do. And what was so funny was, um, topics range everywhere from immigration to the war in Gaza to,
Fracking.
fracking, which is relevant for Pennsylvania in particular, and of course,
Abortion.
migration and abortion. A lot of people knew that Trump, one of his strong points was going to be on immigration, and she spoke to it. But again, when she's like, go to his rallies, people leave because they are exhausted and bored. When she said he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter, I was like, this is amazing. Call him out on this shit. You know what I mean? I also thought some of my more notable points is when she's like, 81 Americans fired you, since you always want to talk about people getting fired. I can't believe how he was on the world stage talking about people killing newborn babies, though. I am like, what
and
the
eating
actual.
and eating dogs in Springfield, Ohio. I was like, now what? How did we get in this? How did we get in this?
No truth. No truth.
Yeah, and that's one of
these
the points you're
claims.
mentioning when, David Muir mentioned that they
Yeah.
had reached out to the Springfield city manager and said there's no truth or validity that they found to those claims, right? So yes, it is from the clips and everything I've heard. Because again, Native Land, they did a live
They did.
podcast, and
It
so
was
I've been
great.
listening to the
Same.
recap,
Yep.
and I definitely appreciate that the moderators were not pushovers. Yes, there were still times that I did not like that he was able to yell points and make points when he should not have been able to speak. I'm like, do
At
we need to put
all.
them behind soundproof glass?
Listen and roll it up, because I felt like, especially towards the second half of the debate, he kept just rolling over his time. And, you know, some people were, especially the people on the right, were complaining about Kamala Harris faces. And I'm like, I don't blame her faces. How are you expected to keep a straight face when there's a clown?
Touche.
What about you, Ashley?
Yeah, I mean, from again, what I've seen and what I've heard, I think, you know, Kamala definitely held her ground. This was not a reenactment of his debate with Hillary Clinton. That's for damn sure.
Woo, yes.
Um, Kamala didn't have anything. I'm sorry, Vice President Kamala Harris did not have anything to prove to me, but I think that she showed, especially in some of the, commentary I've heard, that she's absolutely ready for this office and is ready to do what needs to be done. And I'm continue to be excited for her that she continues to have such great support, such great momentum. And I think that regardless whether Trump and his cronies want to say he won, this did not harm her campaign whatsoever. And that's all that I could ask for in terms of public perception. Because again, she has nothing to prove to me. And as a part of this, I wanted to ask you how you felt about Taylor Swift finally coming out. And I say finally because let's not pretend like she needed this debate to decide who she was voting for, but finally came out and has endorsed the Harris-Walz campaign. What were your thoughts about her statement?
I think it's interesting that she decided to do it at the end of the debate. because honestly, there was mounting pressure from the media on whether or not she was going to endorse, because she currently in this world is the biggest childless cat lady, that people can name right off the dome. You know what I mean? And so I was wondering if she was going to endorse, especially after she was hugged up with Mahomes' wife.
Brittany. The fact that he said he doesn't want to endorse anybody, I'm like, you are not remotely Black.
Ashley,
you've been stripped from me. Because what are you talking about?
That whole dynamic, I don't have anything positive to say, so I'm just gonna keep it to myself.
What did we have a podcast for? People are telling me all the time, Ashley, y'all need to start saying stuff that just is gonna go viral. And I'm like, okay. I don't want it to be for all the wrong reasons.
Exactly. We want y'all to keep coming too. I mean, yes, it'd be nice to go viral, but I want people to stay.
But also, we have to be true to ourselves and to our own integrity and things like that. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we could say that sometimes it's just in poor taste. To say publicly.
And I will say this, because like, for example, my social media, I always, for a while, especially when it was new in college, I was like, I'm not going to post anything that my mom can't see. And I say that because back in the day, people used to put all their drunk pictures and thirst traps, and that just wasn't a part of my brand. Okay. I give.
Say that. Branding.
Very demure, very classy, not doing too much. Okay.
Well, also because employers, it was even employers more than family for a while for me was working in media. People would be like, yes, we're absolutely looking at your social media. We're absolutely looking at this, and that. And so I just got very paranoid. And even to this day, I know that my boss and folks have looked at my social media. So it's like, I don't want to put anything on there that I would be embarrassed or not proud. Not that I would, but you know what I mean? Like, there are just certain things that I would not, even if I would show my friends, I don't need to put on my Instagram. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So branding is a
DMs
thing.
For me though. No.
Yeah.
Half the time it means about reading romance books and fairy fae stuff. So no.
Yeah. And that's between us and us. But I know. So for the podcast too, let me bring this back to the podcast.
Yes.
We also have a podcast brand as well. So we are very truthful. We give our unfiltered opinion a lot on here, but often. I get it that and sometimes there is certain things that we just don't need to be said on the mic.
That part. With saying all that I said about, like Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris and her performance, I agree. I don't feel like what she did last night harmed anything. I think it was essentially, and I got this from Native Land Podcast, it was mainly for people who were going to choose to stay on the couch or go vote. You know what I mean? And I am not
choose
naive.
The couch intentionally because of JD Vance, or was that just a slip of the tongue?
It is in terms of getting out to vote, right? I think it was an interesting choice that she did it right after the debate. Maybe she wanted to see the vice president's performance or something before she gave the stamp of approval. But her out here hugging Brittany Holmes and everything. Shout out to Blakely. He was like white civility, where it's like you all have opposing opinions, but still can have a good kiki time.
There are so many people too who like to say that what's the terminology that people use that are not into politics, apolitical. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means.
But we don't understand as a people, because everything we do, say, and look like has been politicized. So like for us to walk through life as if politics and legislation doesn't impact us, that's a bold-faced lie, because a lot of these laws were made because of us and they need to be changed.
Just as an adult, I don't understand how any adult could feel that they are apolitical. So if somebody out there wants to explain it to me, let me know. Politics impacts every single aspect of your life, from
And as
the
a woman,
roads you drive on,
listen,
to the schools your children go to the libraries your children read at, and on. Like
and your vagina and uterus, like that is
like inescapable. But I'm taking it even away from the hot button issues, right? Because some people will say, well, there's these big things, but in my day-to-day life, and let's not even talk about just national politics. Your local politics impact your life. Who your local politicians are matters so much. So I just have never understood the idea as an adult. As a child, you barely have any say over what you're eating for lunch. As an adult,
and
it makes no sense.
And so what I mean by people like us, women, Black women, the reason why we care so much about politics, and I know I come from a history of canvassing and volunteering at polls. Shout out to my grandma Watson. It's like we needed the Crown Act so that our jobs wouldn't fire us for wearing our hair the way it looks like coming out of our heads. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, so it's just one of those things where I don't get it. And until this world is the ultimate utopia, we got a lot of work to do.
Yep. We should wrap this up, but let me say real quick on the Taylor Swift endorsement that it wasn't a matter of me being happy Taylor Swift endorsed. In my mind, she better have endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris. The ramifications to me, had she not just for herself, but for her reputation, for her fandom, for all those things, like, just imagine you choose not to endorse a running female candidate for president. You're supposedly so pro-woman, me and my girl gang, all this stuff in terms of your public persona. Like, cannot imagine you deciding not to endorse Vice President Kamala Harris.
And, you know, it would have brought into that conversation, this is a deep cut, y'all, the conversation between feminism and womanism, right? Mm-hmm. Womanism was a term adapted by Black women who were originally part of the feminist movement, but felt isolated and iced out because of the color of their skin. So, yeah, it would have been
telling.
Very.
All right. Well, that's enough about that. We'll see if there's another debate that happens before November.
We won't do it. He barely wanted to do this one. He's not going to do another.
He was scared. But we still have the vice presidential debate. And coming.
You know, JD Vance is such a robot that Tim is going to be laughing just the way Kamala was laughing. He's actually done things as governor compared to junior senator JD Vance also. So that should be interesting as well in terms of real legislation.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. That's enough of that, guys. Delora, what are we recapping for the people for next week?
I'm so excited. We are doing yet another TBT, and it is perfect for spooky season. Okay, I am talking about the 1992 cult classic, Death Becomes Her, starring the Meryl Streep, Goldie Hawn, and Bruce Willis.
Iconic.
It's like legendary. Like, I can't even stress.
Yes.
Yeah.
For the new kids out there, it is the reenactment in Sabrina Carpenter's latest video with her and Jenna,
thank you.
Jenna Ortega, aka Wednesday Addams. So be sure to come back for that, because that's going to be a good one. So looking forward to it. Thank you for sticking with us for this episode. Please share it with everybody you know. We'll be back, but in the meantime, as always, be blessed.
Bye.